Hello, welcome. This is the Burn KC Sports Podcast with your host Alex Blackburn. Um, Lots to talk about today. Certain basketball team winning the national championship. If you know, you know, of course. The Royals kick off the season with a win. Chiefs running back questions, draft questions, and some local rugby will be played this weekend. So strap in. We got a lot to cover. Um, so let's just get stuck in. Yeah. As always, thank you for your continued support. Thank you for everything that you all do on Patreon, Twitter, Facebook. Share. Get this podcast going. It only makes it bigger and better. Um, this podcast will be going up on YouTube as well as the other socials. Links can be found on the page you're currently on or at theburnkcsportstalk.com. So let's just jump in. Kansas Jayhawks are national champs. Feels good to say. It truly does. As an alumni, it feels very good to say. It was a long time coming. We waited since 2008. Ran into a buzzsaw that was the Anthony Davis Anthony Davis team that was Kentucky. That was a rough one. And then obviously getting revenge on Villanova was pretty sweet. Hawks are champs, and that's all there is to it. My thoughts on the game really just come down to what a second half performance. I mean, it to bounce back from being 15 down at one point is remarkable in any stretch. Whether that be with 3 minutes left or 20 minutes left. I mean, coming back from being down that much is not an easy feat. And Kansas did it masterfully. They found their game. They were physical. They found their shots, and they showed resilience. I mean, Remby Martin looked great. Ochai turned it around. Christian Brown, where was he for the Elite Eight and Final Four games? But, I mean, we found him. I mean, he found himself. And just an overall excellent performance. I'm not going to lie, though. I did hold my breath when DeJuan Harris stepped out of bounds. That was terrifying. But, I mean, we won. So there's reason to celebrate. Mizzou and K-State fans, I know you all wanted to see KU lose, or shoot, maybe some of you wanted them to win. But in the end, another national championship year for us, and overall, pretty sweet. Next year's predictions. Let's just say I think Brown's coming back. I think Bill Self has done enough of a developmental job, and Brown loves this program enough to where he will be back. And we'll have to look into youth development, especially down low. Obviously, David McCormick's gone after this year, so expect KJ Adams or Zach Clements to take on a bigger role. It'll be fun to see how Bill Self develops this new team. I think he's got a lot of great talent in those younger classes. I don't think they'll be as good as they were this year, fortunately. With everybody leaving, I mean, you got Remy, you got Ochai, you got possibly Christian, you got Dave, possibly Jalen, just a bunch of people, Coleman Lands, there's a bunch of people leaving, but I mean, that's just college basketball. And just overall, I think with the transfer portal as active as it is too, we'll be fine. I mean, it'll still be Kansas basketball. I know there are a few concerned people out there saying, well, coming off a national championship year, relax. Just Frankie said relax, just relax. You'll be all right. You'll be good. just who will develop and flourish is kind of what I'm asking myself. I think if Brown comes back, obviously he's going to be the marquee starter. Um, I think DeJuan will develop into a much bigger role, especially if he improves on his shooting. He was pretty good for those Elite Eight and Final Four games, and found his shot too in the championship as well. So if he can get better at perimeter shooting, I can see him being one of our better guards, if not already one of our better guards. Um, but we'll just have to see. I mean, it's hard to tell and a little bit too early, especially, again, with the transfer portal as active as it is. There's a possibility we take on a couple people. Obviously, you got Grady Dick coming in. Love some Dick, if you know what I mean. Gosh. Excuse me for laughing at my own joke, but it's a funny name. And you know what? If we're the insufferable all-white guy team next year, so be it. Love the Jayhawks, national champs. And yeah, if you want to experience more national spotlight, the Kansas Jayhawk Rugby Club is actually playing out at the Westwick Rugby Complex tomorrow at 3 p.m. They'll be competing for a spot in the national final. Go cheer those boys on, because as a former player, we're pretty good in that department. But hey, if you don't understand rugby, spring games tomorrow, parades on Sunday. It's going to be a good weekend for KU sports overall. More about KU rugby later. Again, one of the big topics of this podcast will be local rugby. So just strap in for a few words on that. Opening day for the Royals, moving on. The Royals looked decent for their first game. I have no complaints, really. I think we used a bit too many pitchers. But other than that, if we can avoid using so many relievers in one game and find a true closer, I think we'll be a playoff contender. I think Cleveland, is kind of a middle-of-the-road team, but we looked good. I mean, defensively, we looked sound. Bobby Witt Jr. obviously came into his own with that double RBI. Look at him showing up. Again, more on him later. But we looked good. And another thing, I guess, was we needed more Salvi, too. Sorry to give you an insult sandwich there, but we needed more Salvi. Salvi looked pretty bad. I think he went 0 for 3 yesterday. 0 for 3 or 0 for 4. He didn't get a hit, which, for one of our biggest sluggers last year, that's bad. But it's the first game of the season. I'm sure things will turn around, and we'll just have to wait and see, because, we were good in April last year. We had the best record in the MLB, and then, those summer months happened. Royals have always struggled with the summer months. If you're not used to it by now, well, welcome to the Royals fan club. Or you were born in, 2009. Anyway, Bobby Witt Jr. What a guy. With the amount of publicity that he's had, and with the amount of hype that he's received, he delivered, in my opinion. I know he was, 1 for 3, and everybody's like, well, we can't, be the judge of that yet. I agree. And I think we do have to look for the overhypedness and publicity to be a factor in how well he does. We, again, don't want him to turn into another Bubba Starling. And unfortunately, there's a lot of media pressure behind Bobby Witt Jr. He's being predicted to be the next Tatis, or what's the other kid's name Franco, I think is his name, or something like that. But just another young phenom that will propel a small market team to new and better heights. Um, but yeah, Franco and the Pirates, I think, is his name. But I digress. Moving on or moving back to Bobby Witt. I think the publicity does matter. We can't push this kid too hard. I mean, he's 21, I think. Just old enough to drink. Um, it, from what I've seen of the Royals fan base, we have the ability to be patient and to wait and see. But obviously, with the advent of Mahomes and the Chiefs being really good, Sporting Kansas City really always being good, KU coming off their national title year, there's a lot of hype surrounding Kansas City sports. And I think we need to remember we have to be patient. Obviously, I did say this is a prove it year for the Royals. A lot of the Royals staff, this is a prove it year. But for Bobby Witt Jr., we can't. This is not a prove it year for him. This is his first year in the majors. Yeah, he did well in the minors, but he may be a phenom. He may not. He may need some time to develop. I mean, we saw guys like Alex Gordon. We saw guys like Eric Hosmer come up through this system and be great. And Salvador Perez. We saw these guys come up from our system and be great players. And if that's what it takes to keep hold of Bobby Witt, what I don't want to see is we run him out of town and we run him to a big market team. Obviously, there is that risk if he becomes really, really good. Because unfortunately in the MLB, small market teams and big market teams, there's a huge disparity. The Yankees are going to have better players than us or Cincinnati or teams like that are going to have. I mean, it's just a fact of life, and it's an unfortunate but true fact. That's not to say that we can't be good, obviously. I mean, 2015 was a great year. And 2014 was too. But we have to realize that these things take time. We can't put too much pressure on Bobby Witt Jr. or anybody, for that matter, in the Royals organization that is really outside of the front office. I think, again, for the front office, it's time to go. The development years are behind us. It's time to go to the upswing. If we don't make the playoffs but still have a winning record or even break even, honestly, I think the jobs are safe. If we have a losing record, though, I think changes will have to be made. Maybe minor changes, maybe major. Again, I am not the president of the Royals. Obviously, that's a new role here for the Royals as well. We got a new president and owner and everything like that. We don't know his thought processes, and we'll just have to wait and see what he decides to do. Again, if the Royals, it turns out to be a disappointing year. But I guess moving on, I wanted to go more into the pitching staff. Greinke looked great. Greinke really did look great. He didn't look, 30 in his mid 30s. He didn't look like a guy that had lost steam. Even though he's a journeyman, even though he's been everywhere and pitched everything, he still looked like he hadn't lost a step since last being on the Royals. A good 5.2 innings pitched. I mean, that's solid for a starting pitcher. Obviously, like complete games and everything like that. But I wanted to go more into our relievers. I think the way we used our relievers was it was rough. Um, Four pitchers is too much for a non-playoff game. Um, for for a team that is worth their salt, really. I went more into this in my opening day article, um, but frankly speaking, we can't just blow through our arsenal of pitchers within the first game. Guys are going to have to get rest. Um, in case we do have a tight ball game, and yes, I know opening day was a tight ball game. It's kind of hard to justify the pretty generous use of pitchers. Um, and we have to find a true closer. Barlow, Stallmont, who's it going to be? Or anybody else, Garrett, who's it going to be? I know in the past we've been spoiled with Wade Davis. We've been spoiled with Kelvin Herrera, Greg Holland. And we don't have a true closer, and we haven't had one for a while. So I think that's definitely an issue that needs to get resolved. I think there are guys on this team that do have potential closer ability. Scott Barlow is one of them. He looked pretty good. But then again, he only pitched, an inning? I mean, obviously, like with a closer, duh, that's really all that we need him for. But I would like to see more production out of our relievers in the end. And to find that true closer and to find that guy that can secure games for us consistently, I think would be huge for the Royals. Because, I mean, we lost a lot of close games last year. And it's nice to see a clutch performance this year in the very first game of the season. I mean, that's a good sign. But it has to continue. And the only way that continues is by finding that true closer to close down those games. But, I mean, our defense looked great, too. Nicky Lopez with that catch. Bobby Witt Jr. again with that huge throw from first to third. I mean, that looked chef's kiss. I mean, and then it really saved our pitching with how good our defense was. I mean, it looked great. Allowing only one run, no errors. It was solid. It was a solid performance, and we'll need more of that, and we'll need to see consistency from the Royals if they expect to make the playoffs this year. Going into the Chiefs now. One of the just two main topics I want to cover here is the draft and our running back situation. The draft, you got lots of options. Who do you take? Who do you keep? Do you trade? Etc., etc. If the 49ers are going to undervalue Deebo Samuel that much, let's go with a third-round pick, shall we? Just send a third-round pick their way and get Deebo Samuel. That'd be huge. It's fantasy, but it's worth a shot. Deebo would be a great option. Guys like George Pickens, if we can get him, Jamison Williams or Chris Olave. I think George Pickens, yes, with his discipline issues, could be a problem. But, I mean, we had no issue with that when we drafted Marcus Peters or Tyreek Hill. You'll come to find that that's not necessarily an issue with us. If it becomes an issue, we stamp it out immediately, and we saw that with Kareem Hunt. So I like Pickens as a late first-round pick for us. But obviously we still need that edge help. David Ajobo, I expect to be our first pick if he's not off the board. But we need to find that edge sooner rather than later. We don't want to be scrounging the mid-round picks. I mean, we saw how our mid-round edge picks have fared so far. Mike Dana's fine. He's not great, though. But, yeah, David Njoku and George Pickens with those 2 first-round picks is what I predicted. The third round is going to be our tradables, in my opinion. Maybe the second rounds too, but I would like to see those spent on corners and defensive backs. I think there's a lot of talent when it comes to this draft. I mean, obviously the top guy, Derek Stingley Jr., is going to go real early, so I'm not expecting us to get guys like that. But there's a couple kids that will fall to us, and we have to take advantage. One of those kids is the guy from Ole Miss that I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But I would like him as one of our corners. But, yeah, using those early to mid-round picks on DBs would be great. Again, the third round, that's where I would look for trades. That's where I believe we can find a gem, perhaps, but that could happen in the late rounds as well. And it could happen. The most I would want to trade is 2 third-round picks, maybe 1 second round. That's the most I would want to trade. I don't want to give anyway. If I'm the Chiefs, I'm not giving those first-round picks away unless it is someone that is top line. Unless we can get Cooper Kupp, then I don't see us giving away one of those first-round picks. Again, second or third, that's all well and good. Maybe even the 4th-round picks or some of the 7th-rounders. I mean, those later-round picks I would be okay with trading away, not our first-round picks, and I'm a little uneasy about the second-round picks as well. Again, look for edge and wide receiver early. DBs, early to mid-rounds. We've had success with those early to mid-round DBs. L'Jarius Sneed is a big one. Thornhill, another big one. I mean, good but not great, yeah, but they have potential, especially Juan Thornhill. I don't think we've seen a fraction of what he can do. I think he's a great player. I think he shows up when he's needed, and he's solid. And I think L'Jarius Sneed is too, but he's had some bad misses in coverage. So I expect him to get better after his sophomore slump. One big question, though, is do the Chiefs look for a running back? No. I personally wouldn't. I think if you're going to find a running back, do it in free agency and find a bargain bin guy. Find a bargain bin third down back. That's what we need. And if we have to do running back by committee, we have no third down back. I mean, Jared McKinnon is great. Don't get me wrong. He filled in where he was needed, and he's awesome. He's not a third down back, though. Ronald Jones can't catch well enough, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's on the verge of bust, in all honesty. He's an okay player, but he's not worth the first-round pick. I think the pick to begin with was a little bit but he's further proving why I had my reservations around him. He's going to need to catch the ball better. He's going to need to stay healthy. And he needs to be a bigger part of this offense in order to justify where he was picked in the draft. We're missing Darrell Williams more than ever this next year if we don't get another back like him. He was one of the best third down backs in the league. And he went so under the radar, and I feel like he's going to be missed sorely if we don't find another good third down back. But I'm not Andy Reid. Maybe Andy's got something different planned. Um, Maybe we'll get Trey Burton involved more. Who knows? I I truly am skeptic though about that position, as well as obviously our defense and our wide receivers. But I think that's a position that flies under the radar as a very big need. Um, I know everybody's talking about, oh, the age of the running back is over. Like we're never going to see guys like LaDainian Tomlinson again, or Eddie George, or Adrian Peterson. Derrick Henry exists. I'm just saying. Derrick Henry exists. Christian McCaffrey, if he's healthy, exists. The running back position is still a needed position in football, and I'm tired of people invalidating it. Because frankly speaking, we saw what the 49ers did with Deebo Samuel. That can be put at the running back position. A running back can also be a jack of all trades. And if we can find someone that's like that in the draft, then yeah, let's go for it. But I don't trust a rookie in that position. I'll just say that now. But who knows? I mean, again, I'm not Brett Veach. I'm not Andy Reid. This is my opinion. Don't be reactionary. Thank you. Moving on to college rugby, though. Something near and dear to my heart that I want to talk about, frankly. I've been a rugby player for 10 years. I've loved the sport ever since. It's a great time. If you have a chance to go check out the Kansas City Blues or the Jayhawks or any of the other local teams, go for it. I mean, it's a great time, and the social aspect even is super fun. I mean, you go out to a field and drink beer while you watch guys hit each other. What's not to love? And it's way cheaper than Chiefs tickets. Or for that matter, even Jayhawk football tickets. Which, speaking of which, spring game. But also, this is happening. The Jayhawks are in the D1AA National Tournament. And if they win 2 games, they go to the national finals. That's another national championship under the belt of the Jayhawks. I think that's a pretty good reason to go support these guys. They're led by Andy Stewart, Captain Chandler Owens. Other players to watch include Jack Bowersox, Trevor Lister, and Reed Parsons. My boy Reed. Shout out. And just strong ball movement and physical play are pretty major keys for the Jayhawks here. They're going to go up against a fairly good UTSA team, University of Texas San Antonio. They got big boys. I've seen them on film. They look pretty good. So it'll be a tough test for the Hawks, but Heart of America reigning champions. They're conference champs. They've blown people out of the water. They've taken down D1A teams. These guys are good. And if you want to go watch good rugby, go out to Westwick Rugby Complex tomorrow at 3. Or even tomorrow at 1 to catch the Minnesota-Texas State game. See who we could potentially be playing. It's an option. And I really can't sing the praises of this team enough. I know, Alex, you're biased. You used to play for them. This team has beaten top-level club teams before. They've beaten top-level college teams. They're no joke. I mean, I don't play for them anymore, but I will say that I'm a proud alum, and I'm cheering the boys on to victory come Saturday. I'll be out there. Come say hi. Westwick is a great place to just have a beer, have some fun, and watch the good old boys hit. So, another thing, if you don't like the Jayhawks, of course, if you don't want to drive out to Lawrence or whatever, blah, 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 excuse you have, is there's a college sevens tournament going on, and sevens is honestly more exciting to watch than 15s, in my humble opinion. 15s is fun to watch too, though. Just saying, I'm more of a 15s player. I'm very slow. That being said, there's a college tournament. Teams like Wayne State, Principia, John Brown U, and Central College are all making appearances, as well as Pitt State, Benedictine, Missouri SNT, UCM, and Maryville. So if you like small college rugby, or if you just want to support the little guys, go out and support them. Not only that, KC Blues Rugby is playing a match in between. We're going to be playing Banshees RFC, and it's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to seeing the result of that. Unfortunately, I can't make it. There's going to be a lot of things that I got to do in the morning. I got work, unfortunately. But I'll be out there next week. Believe it. Anyways. Catch a little bit of rugby. Support local sports teams. That's all I got to say. And you know what? Try it. You might like it. If you're an athlete and you've been kind of like, oh man, I need to get back into shape, go try rugby. Grow the game. Be a part of something great. Anyways, that's our show. Kind of short, kind of sweet, but didn't have a ton to talk about today. I obviously had the two major topics in the Royals winning opening day, and of course with the Jayhawks winning the national championship. Huge game. If you want to know more, if you want to see me go more in depth, go check out the articles at www.theburnkc.com. Support the Patreon. Again, patreon.com/theburnkc. And just thanks. Just thank you for everything that you all do as loyal supporters. And I really appreciate each and every one of you that are sharing out there, that are even just stopping in to say hi, or, just casually lurking my channels and stuff like that and keeping up with me. But seriously, I appreciate each and every one of you. That's it for now. There will be a show next Friday, same time, same place. Just, follow me on social media, everything like that. Keep up with me. And keep up with this program. Like I said, support, and your guys' support means a lot. And I truly can't thank people enough for what they've done so far, but it only gets better the more support you give. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great night. Have an awesome weekend. Go watch some rugby. And I'll see you next Friday. This is the Burn KC. Alex Blackburn signing out.